Super Bowl rematch. The 3-1 Chicago Bears will be facing off against the 3-1 Tampa Bay Buccaneers at Soldier Field on Thursday Night Football in front of the bright lights for the whole world to watch. The Bears' first primetime game of the year. Will Nick Foles be able to beat Tom Brady again? Watch this video to find out. Before we begin talking about this game, I want to talk about my sponsor for this video, DraftKings Sportsbook. A lot of you guys out there watch a lot of sports, okay? I know you guys watch basketball too. You guys watch hockey sometimes. You guys watch baseball. You guys watch football, obviously, okay? A lot of you guys are diehard football fans. And a lot of you guys really know sports pretty well. If you guys know sports, why not try to earn some money on it, okay? Why not play some money on your favorite team winning, on certain things happening, on this team beating that team? You know, why not put some money on it and make it even more interesting? Well, if you guys want the best app to bet on sports, I would highly recommend downloading DraftKings Sportsbook. It's the #1 top-rated sportsbook app in all of America. It's based right here in the USA, so you can rest assured that your funds are going to be completely safe and secure with them. You can withdraw and deposit money at any time you want at your own convenience. So I really like that, and I've been using this app for a couple weeks now, and it's been nothing but great for me. Like, a lot of the bets that I've placed, I've won a decent amount of cash on. You know, it's very easy to see how much money you win by placing money on a certain thing happening. Like, even if you don't know the odds, if you don't know the numbers, it's very easy for a beginner to use. And I'm having a lot of fun betting on certain things happening. You know, sports are pretty much on all day in my house, okay, in my apartment. Like, I'll have basketball on, I'll have soccer on, I'll have baseball on. Obviously on Sundays I have football on. So it's been a lot of fun also trying to bet and earn some money from my knowledge about sports. Now, if you guys want to sign up for this app, you know, use the link down below in my description box. So if you click on that link, it will take you to the sign up page. And when you sign up, use my promo code DaWindyCity. So head on over to the DraftKings Sportsbook app right now and check out all they have to offer, because they have a ton of different bets you can possibly place. They have live betting, they have prop betting, so you can bet on stuff like, you know, Eddie Jackson having a touchdown in the next game against Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. You know, you can bet on a lot of different stuff. So go out there, find a bet that you like the best, and potentially earn some cash with it. Now, if you don't have DraftKings Sportsbook in your state, be sure to download the DraftKings Fantasy app, because the DraftKings Fantasy app is giving away millions of dollars of prizes every single week. So great app overall. I would not be recommending this to you guys unless I personally enjoyed it and used it myself. So I definitely do that. You know, you guys see on my Instagram story pretty much every week I'll be posting my bets. So I definitely enjoy this app. You know, be sure to download it and enjoy it as well. What's up, guys? I'm back with the weekly Chicago Bears prediction videos. This time we got a Week 5 matchup against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at Soldier Field in our own house against the greatest quarterback of all time. Man, it is going to be a fun one. When I first saw the calendar for 2020, I was like, this is a game that I have to go to no matter what. I was like, I don't care how much money it costs. I'm going to find a way to go to this game, okay? Against Tom Brady, with our defense, you know, with Nick Foles as well. I was like, this is going to be such a fun game to watch in person, but then COVID had to come and ruin everything. So it sucks, man. There's not going to be any fans there, but it's going to be a fun matchup regardless. Okay, a Super Bowl rematch like I talked about. I never thought that with the Bears quarterback, we would ever be having a Super Bowl rematch, because our quarterbacks don't go to Super Bowls, okay? We don't have any quarterback really in the past like 20 years, right? That has ever even been to a Super Bowl. Unless you want to count Rex Grossman, but that's a name that you probably want to erase from your memory if you are a Bears fan. So, you know, putting all that aside, guys, you know, we all know what happened the last time these two quarterbacks matched up. I think they did actually match up in the preseason, but that doesn't count, okay? Nobody cares about that. But the last time they actually matched up in a game that meant anything was the Super Bowl. And in that game, man, you know, Nick Foles put up one of the greatest Super Bowl performances of all time. Tom Brady did as well, but Nick Foles ultimately won that game as the heavy underdog with nobody believing in him except himself probably. You know, he puts together one of the best performances ever, wins Super Bowl MVP, and leads that team to their first Super Bowl victory ever. Now, he doesn't have anywhere close to that same offensive line that he did with the Eagles, so I'm not trying to draw any comparisons to the team he has to work with right now. I don't think he has the same offensive talent to work with as he did in Philadelphia, and the same system either, even though it is kind of similar. But all I'm trying to say is that the last time this dude faced off against the GOATs, he won. So maybe it happens again, okay? And if it does, I mean, I'm going to be a happy camper, because beating this Buccaneers team, that's going to be the only way to forgive this team for what happened last weekend against the Colts. I mean, because of that Colts loss, practically nobody right now is believing in the Bears whatsoever. And with good reason too, because why should you believe in a team that barely beat all these trash teams, barely beat the Lions, the Giants, and the Falcons, and when we actually face off against an actual good team, we completely fell flat on our faces. So we're not going to get any respect, guys, until we actually beat good teams like this one, like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Okay, so if you can actually win this game, I mean, it's going to take a massive load off the Bears' shoulders, because it's going to, it's going to help them prove something to everybody else. If I'm being honest, guys, like, this game might be one of the biggest games that Matt Nagy has ever coached in his career, because it's going to prove to everybody else what his talents as a play caller actually are. Okay, right now, what we have seen over the past year and a half, it's been completely unacceptable. Matt Nagy was hired here to be an offensive-minded coach to fix our damn offense that has been last pretty much, it seems like, every single year of our entire existence, but the results have simply not been there. And the last game against the Colts, that was an absolutely unacceptable performance overall by the team, but also from the play caller. Matt Nagy did not put Nick Foles in any sort of position to succeed in that game. So we're going to see in this game what our head coach is actually made of. Okay, how can he respond to this intense pressure that is all on him right now? The quarterback excuse is no longer there. You have a new guy that fits your system better. There's no longer any blame you can put on Mitch Trubisky, because Mitch Trubisky is no longer the starting quarterback of the Bears due to your own decisions. So you're going to have to prove the rest of the world that you made the right call and that you are a talented play caller, because right now a lot of people are questioning that. So big game for Matt Nagy, big game for Nick Foles as well, because right now a lot of Bears fans still are not completely sold on the idea of Foles being the starting quarterback. Okay, they're calling for his head already after one bad game. Now, I'm not going to agree with that whatsoever. You have to give Nick Foles at least as much time, at least some of the patience you had with Mitch Trubisky. So give this guy at least a couple games, to see what he truly has. But he's going to have to put up something fast, because right now this fan base is desperate for some good quarterback play. Okay, so whoever that is, I do not care. But right now, man, Nick Foles, you have to prove yourself and prove that, Matt Nagy made the right decision going to you over Mitch Trubisky. So with all that said, let me start talking about our opponent now, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Okay, they're playing some really good football now. It's going to be a really tough team to beat, because right now, both on offense and on defense, this team is looking absolutely stacked. Okay, more on offense than on defense, but right now on offense, guys, I mean, they have playmakers all over the field, partly due to all the acquisitions they got over the offseason. Okay, they got guys like Leonard Fournette, they got Rob Gronkowski, they got Tristan Wirfs, a really solid left tackle in the draft. They got some other help on the offensive line too. They already had star receivers in Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, who are among the best in the entire NFL. OJ Howard was a big threat for them too, but he's actually out for the season, I believe, with the torn Achilles or something like that. So he's not going to be playing in this one. But overall, man, there's just so much talent on this Buccaneers team. And obviously adding the greatest quarterback of all time, even though he is 43 years of age, that's definitely an upgrade over what they had last year with Jameis Winston. So this Buccaneers offense is going to be really tough to stop for opposing teams this year. But when I also look at the defense, they also have so many playmakers as well. They have so many guys that can get to the passer. Obviously, Shaq Barrett led the NFL in sacks last year. Jason Pierre-Paul, he's getting up there in age, but still a really decent pass rusher. Vita Vea and Ndamukong Suh on the inside. Devin White, Levante David as your middle linebackers. I mean, those two are among the best in the NFL, one of the best linebacking duos. So their front seven is honestly a force to reckon with. It's going to be really tough for opposing offenses to handle. Now, their secondary is a little bit worse. They don't have as much talent on the secondary, but they still have guys like Antoine Winfield Jr., Carlton Fisk, who are solid young players. So from top to bottom, man, this defense is a lot improved than in years prior. Like, don't think it's going to be the same Buccaneers defense that Mitch Trubisky faced in 2018, because it's nowhere near the same defense. If I take a look at how the Buccaneers have done so far this season, so in the first game of the year, they played the Saints, and they didn't look that good against the Saints. They lost 34-23, and Tom Brady didn't look all that hot. He threw a pick six. But after that, I mean, he's been on fire, and this Buccaneers offense and defense has been doing pretty well. Okay, they've been playing some pretty poor competition, though, so keep that in mind. They haven't been beating the best teams, but they did pull out a win against the Chargers, who are looking like a pretty decent team so far this year. So overall, man, this Bucs team has looked pretty solid this year. You cannot really say the same thing about the Bears so far this year, because even though we are 3-1 as well, okay, we have the same record as the Buccaneers. We have barely won the games that we have actually won. And the one game we play against an actual good team, we get dominated. So it hurts for me to say that as a Bears fan, but I'm just being realistic, guys. Like, the jury is still out on the Chicago Bears, and right now the Bucs on paper look like a much better football team. But obviously, this is the NFL. Any given Sunday, anything can happen. Actually, any given Thursday, okay, anything can happen. So the Bears still have a chance in this one. Let me take a look at the numbers and the stats to compare these two teams. So let's take a look at the numbers now from the Buccaneers offense first of all. So they're number 16 in yards per game. They average 372 yards per game. They're number 9 in points per game. They average 30 points per game. They're the number 9 passing offense and number 27 rushing offense, so much better through the air than through the ground. And they're pretty much average in most offensive categories. So yards per play, time of possession, third down conversion percentage, they're pretty much average, league average in all those key areas. So they have not been lighting the league on fire per se just yet with all these crazy offensive weapons they have. But you have to keep in mind that Tom Brady just got here. It takes some time to build some chemistry. And also over the past 2 games, I mean, they put up 38 against the Chargers and 28 against the Broncos. So they have been looking a lot more explosive lately than before. And, if I also look at the red zone scoring percentage, in the red zone, this team is absolutely unstoppable. They're number 2 in red zone scoring percentage. They score a touchdown 80% of the time. And guys, that has to be a result of getting Tom Brady, okay? One of the most experienced quarterbacks in the league right now, probably the most experienced, okay? This dude has seen practically every defense there is to see. Obviously, he's going to be pretty good in the red zone if you give him a lot of threats, which the Buccaneers have clearly given him. So in the red zone, this offense is practically unstoppable. And if I look at Tom Brady's stats to begin this year, I mean, he has 1,122 passing yards, 11 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, and a passer rating of 99.4. So as usual, I mean, Tom Brady is having a pretty good season, especially considering his age. Okay, no quarterback has done what Tom Brady is doing right now at age 43. So he's having good start to the year. And also one thing about Tom Brady, which is honestly separating himself from the last quarterback, he's really spreading the ball out to practically every receiver on the field. So in the last game he played against the Chargers, he completed a pass to 9 different receivers. Now, one enormous stat I do have to bring up though is that Tom Brady over the past 6 games, he has thrown 4 pick sixes over the past 6 games, not 4 interceptions, 4 pick sixes, balls going the other way for a touchdown for the opposing team. So if we're being honest, I mean, there are a lot of signs of aging going on with Tom Brady right now. He's not the same guy he was in 2010, 2011. He's not the same MVP level Brady, but he's still overall a great quarterback that the Bears are going to have to fear to some extent. One big reason why Tom Brady has been having a lot of success to begin the year is that the offensive line so far has been pretty damn good, at least compared to what it was last year with Jameis Winston. I mean, last year with Jameis Winston, they allowed him to get sacked 47 times. They allowed so much pressure on the quarterback, and that is part of the reason why Jameis Winston threw for like 30 interceptions. So offensive line was poor last year. They knew they had to correct that for Tom Brady because obviously you can't let Tom Brady get sacked like that, like Jameis Winston, or he might actually die, okay, at the age of 43. So they got guys like Tristan Wirfs in the draft, who Tristan Wirfs has been a solid draft pick for them so far. They have Ali Marpet, okay, one of the best guards in the entire NFL. And overall, that entire unit is playing pretty good so far. I already talked about all the offensive weapons this team has, but just to say it again, I mean, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, now these guys might not play in this game. We might get very lucky as Bears fans if both these guys do not play, because Chris Godwin did not play the last game, and Mike Evans suffered a key injury in the game last week too. So both these guys might be a little bit banged up if they do play, or they might not play at all. So that would be ideal for the Bears, but nonetheless, they also have a guy like Scotty Miller, their young receiver, who has 250 yards to begin the year, leading the entire team in yards so far. So that guy is pretty good. O.J. Howard obviously not playing, but Gronk, even though he is old, I mean, he has dominated the Bears team in the past. So that's a guy the Bears have to watch out for. Ronald Jones Jr., I mean, he's shown some flashes of talent in the past. So they do have a lot of talent on offense. Now, let me talk about the defense as well, which has arguably looked just as great so far. I mean, they're number 4 in yards allowed. They only allow 312 yards per game. They're number 9 in points allowed. They allow 23 points per game. They're number 19 against the pass, but number 2 against the run. So all those guys on the inside, Ndamukong Suh, Vita Vea, the linebackers they have, they're really good at stopping the run. They're number 3 in sacks, so they have 14 sacks, 28 tackles for loss, and 26 QB hits. So like I said earlier, this team knows how to get after the quarterback. They know how to get pressure on the quarterback, which might spell trouble for a team like the Chicago Bears that has had some offensive line problems over the past couple of games. guys like Shaquille Barrett and Jason Pierre-Paul, man, both those guys combined, they have 5 sacks so far. So they have been having a great start to the year. Shaq, obviously led the NFL in sacks last year. He completely broke out. So 2 pretty great pass rushers that are going to, get after Nick Foles pretty much all day long. They have a defensive line, like I mentioned, Ndamukong Suh, Vita Vea, that gets constant pressure on the interior, shuts down a lot of these running lanes. So running the ball against this defense is going to be pretty tough. Their linebackers honestly scare me the most because these dudes are fast and they can get after you in coverage, okay? These guys have a nose for the ball. They know where the ball is going. They have great football instincts. They can read a play pretty well. So in coverage, both of them are solid. Both Devin White and Lavonte David. Devin White he's a young guy. He just got drafted last year. I believe number 5 overall or something like that. So he's a young guy, but he's been having a really great start to his career. And Lavonte David, we all know what he has been doing for a long time in this league. So that linebacking duo, it's going to be tough to pass on. Now, the one glaring weakness on this defense is probably in the secondary. In the secondary, they don't have as many experienced players, as many playmakers as they do on that front 7. So in that secondary, they do have guys like Antoine Winfield Jr., the rookie, who has been playing really great ball so far. He has 1 forced fumble and 2 sacks. So really good against the run. Carlton Davis is playing pretty well, but there aren't that many consistent playmakers in that secondary. A lot of guys that you can consistently rely on throughout the entirety of a game. So that's one area where the Bears can really attack them. Now, moving on to talking about the Bears offense and their stats. So we're number 24 in yards per game. We average 343 yards per game. We're number 25 in points per game, 22 points per game. With the 21st ranked passing offense, the 20th ranked rushing offense. One area where this Bears offense is absolutely putrid is on third down. So on third down, we are the 31st ranked offense in the NFL at converting third downs. We only convert third downs 33% of the time. So only 1 out of every third down we are able to convert, which explains why a lot of our drives stall and we don't score a lot of points. So right now, man, if I'm being honest, there's so much chaos in this Bears offense. There's not a lot of continuity, not a lot of consistent play by anyone, really. The quarterback situation, who knows what's going to happen. The offensive line, I thought it was improving so far this year, but against the Colts, they put up a stinker. Mostly the left tackle, Charles Leno, whose play has been terrible now over the past year and a half. So tackle play is a big issue on this team. Nagy's play calling, I already talked about that a lot in my last video. It's not been great at all. So there's a lot of inconsistency on this offense, and nobody really knows if this offense will ever take that next step up to being at least an average NFL offense. The only good thing going in our offense right now is Allen Robinson and David Montgomery. Those are the only 2 guys that every game they are trying to make as many plays as they possibly can. Allen Robinson, to begin the year, he has 331 receiving yards and 2 receiving touchdowns. So a great start to the year. Extend A-Rob, man. I don't know what Ryan Pace is even waiting for at this point. And David Montgomery also has been having a great start to the year. Obviously, last game was not that good with only 27 yards. But with some of the running lanes he had to run through in the last game, there's not really much he could have done. So I do like the play from our number 1 receiver and our number 1 running back. But beyond that, there's been a lot of question marks on this Bears offense. If I look at the Bears defense now, we're number 8 in yards allowed. We allow 346 yards per game. We're number 7 in points allowed. We allow 21 points per game. We're the number 9 passing defense and number 15th rushing defense. Now, one key stat though on this Bears defense is that the Bears defense is number 1 in the red zone. So when it comes time to buckling down the red zone, stopping these teams from scoring, we're the best in the NFL at doing that. We only allow a touchdown 37.5% of the time in the red zone. When there's not a lot of yards behind them, this Bears defense does play pretty physical. It does play pretty well in coverage, and they lock up the receivers, from getting in the end zone. So that's one key area where this Bears defense is still pretty elite. I know a lot of people, including myself, have criticized this defense to some extent because it hasn't been as dominant as we had hoped. Okay, we were hoping this defense was going to be the number 1 defense in the NFL with all the talent that we have. That's probably not going to happen given that Vic Fangio is no longer here, but we can still be a top 5, a top 10 defense. And for most teams, that's good enough to win a Super Bowl with. But we are not most teams, guys, okay? We have terrible offenses. We have offenses that cannot put up any points. So our defense, we have to sometimes expect it to be the best in the NFL to actually win games. So that's one area, man, where the Bears defense sometimes can help our struggling offense out. Like, by producing more turnovers, okay? So far, we are getting a decent amount of pressure on the quarterback, but the turnovers and the sacks has simply not been there. So this Bears defense is going to have to figure out a way to finish the deal, get these quarterbacks in the dirt, and also get their hands on the football, because that's the only way it feels like we're going to help out this offense at all. So, this defense, although it's not as elite as it was in 2018, it's still a pretty damn good defense. With all that being said, let me talk about the matchups now in this game. Which matchups favor the Bears? Which matchups favor the Buccaneers? What are the matchups looking like overall? And one of the biggest, matchups I have to talk about is going to be Tom Brady versus the Bears front seven. Okay, Tom Brady, at 43 years of age, he has seen practically every defense there is to see. You cannot throw out like crazy looks at him that are going to confuse him, because he has seen everything there is to see. So the only way we're actually going to beat Tom Brady is going to be physically, okay? You cannot beat this guy mentally. I've seen this guy on the game's biggest stages consistently be able to perform, and in the most clutch moments, he is always there mentally. So you cannot beat this guy mentally, and with Chuck Pagano calling plays, I doubt that was going to happen in the first place. But physically, we can beat this team if we get in Tom Brady's face, okay? Get consistent pressure on both sides of Brady. Quinn needs to be in this game a lot more. In the last game, Robert Quinn only played 34% of the defensive snaps, which is ridiculous for a guy that we are paying, $80 million. So I don't care that he's not the best run defender. You have to put him out there and see what he has, because right now the pass rush is not consistent due to him not being on the field. So Quinn and Mack, man, they have to have a great day. I do also want this Bears defense to put their hands up also at the line of scrimmage. That's one thing that I feel like this Bears defense does not do enough. Like, we don't bat down passes at the line of scrimmage like we did in 2018, which is honestly a shame, because we have a lot of guys with long arms like Akeem Hicks and Roy Robertson Harris. So if we can get some type of pressure on the interior, beat up Tom Brady physically, that's the only way. Like, get a lot of QB hits on him, get him down to the ground, make life tough on him. That's literally the only way you're going to beat this guy, because you cannot outsmart him mentally. So hopefully KHALIL Mack, Robert Quinn, Akeem Hicks are in Tom Brady's face all day long, and we force him into making a couple bad throws, one of which could potentially go the other way with a guy like Eddie Jackson on the back end. Moving on to the next matchup, I got the Bears offensive line versus the Buccaneers pass rushers. So all the dudes they have rushing the passer, like Shaquille Barrett, Jason Pierre-Paul, Ndamukong Suh on the inside, Vita Vea. They're going to have Devin White also on some blitzes as well. So they have a ton of guys all over the field that can rush the passer. And I'm honestly very scared of that, because we saw what happened in the last game when our offensive line went up against, a defense that actually had decent linebackers, decent pass rushers, and they completely wet the bed. So I just honestly don't see how Charles Leno is going to completely stop Shaquille Barrett. I don't see how on the inside we aren't going to get murked by Ndamukong Suh and Vita Vea. Even though our interior has been playing a lot better this year than last year, I don't think we have necessarily, maulers on this offensive line. And we might need maulers to, match up against a guy like Ndamukong Suh. So from top to bottom, it's a complete mismatch in favor of the Buccaneers. Now, I sincerely hope I'm wrong on this. Hopefully, Charles Leno, Bobby Massey, all the guys on the inside, they play the game of their lives. They pay more attention to their assignments, get better communication among all of them, and somehow get a lot stronger as well. But I don't think that's going to magically happen. So as of now, that's a matchup that's definitely going to favor the Buccaneers. Another big matchup is going to be Matt Nagy versus Todd Bowles. Okay, Todd Bowles, the defensive coordinator of the Buccaneers. This dude has been doing a great job with this Bucs defense. With all the talent that he has, he's gotten the most out of them, and he's turned around this defense from being one of the worst into being, an actual force in this league. So, Todd Bowles, he's going to be throwing a lot of pressure at Matt Nagy in this game. There's going to be a lot of blitzes. There's going to be a lot of heat, a lot of pressure on the edge, and expect this dude also to crowd the line of scrimmage. Okay, he's going to put a lot of guys in the box, a lot of guys near the line of scrimmage, so that Nick Foles is forced to throw the ball deep like he was forced in the last game against the Colts. And that did not work at all for us, because pass protection does not hold up on our team for any routes, it seems like, that take longer than 3 seconds to develop. So that's a similar thing that's going to happen probably in this game. Todd Bowles is going to be sending a lot of heat instantly and throughout the game, and he's simply going to hope that Nick Foles does not have enough time to complete any of his passes, or that he makes some pretty poor throws, in part due to pressure. So it's going to be up to Matt Nagy to figure out a way to stop that and beat that. Okay, his third down play calling is going to have to improve tremendously. No more curl routes on third down. No more bubble screens on third down. Get plays going beyond the line of scrimmage for once in your life. So it's going to be a big game for Matt Nagy to try to outsmart a pretty smart defensive coordinator. All right, so now let me get to my score prediction for this game. Who do I have winning this game? And just looking at this from an unbiased point of view, so just taking out all the love I have for this team, my heart for this team, I gotta pick the Bears to lose this one by a score of 24-18 in Soldier Field to give us a second loss on the season. I so badly want to pick the Bears to win this one because I do think that we do have a shot, okay? All these people saying that we're going to get blown out, a lot of the Buccaneers fans saying that you guys don't have any shot at winning this one. You guys are going to be wrong, okay? We are going to keep this game closer than most people think, but I just think that at the end of the day, the talent that the Buccaneers have on both offense and on defense outmatches the talent that the Bears have, and also the Bears have not beaten a single good opponent so far this year. So until that happens, it would be stupid for me to pick the Bears to win a game against a good team. Nobody actually knows what this Bears team is at this point in time. Like, yeah, we have a winning record, but are we for sure going to be playoff contenders? Who knows? Are we going to miss the playoffs entirely? Who knows? Is Nick Foles going to end the season? Who knows? Like, there's so many question marks on this Bears team right now, and I just cannot pick them to win against a team with as much talent as the Buccaneers at this point in time. I think the Bears offensive line is going to get outmatched and completely outworked, in this game against all the pass rushing talent the Buccaneers have. So it's going to be a tough day for Nick Foles. I do think he's going to be better in this game than he was against the Colts because the Bucs secondary is nowhere near as good as the Colts secondary was. So we are going to get some things going down the field. We are going to put up, at least 18 points, hopefully. But I don't think that's going to be good enough to win in the end because I feel like Tom Brady, with all the short passes he's going to do in this game, with how fast he's going to get the ball out, our pass rush is going to struggle to gain consistent pressure on him. Now, I sincerely hope I'm wrong with everything I'm saying, but I just think the Buccaneers are going to outmatch us on the field. My offensive MVP for this game is going to be Allen Robinson. I have him getting 90 yards and a touchdown, continuing his stellar start to this season. Now, he's pretty much the only guy I can pick for this award because nobody else has been consistent on this offense. So yeah, Darnell Mooney has been showing a lot of great flashes. Jimmy Graham here and there has been having some pretty good games. Anthony Miller has had a couple game-winning touchdown passes, but beyond that, he's been wildly inconsistent with drops and all that. So the only guy that's been making plays no matter what on this offense over the past year and a half is A-Rob. So that's the only guy I can possibly pick for an award like this. Now, for the defensive MVP for this game, I have that being Khalil Mack. Okay, I have him getting 2 sacks because he's going up against a rookie left tackle, and I think that Khalil Mack has a lot to prove at this point in time, okay? Because a lot of people, a lot of Bears fans even, are starting to hate on him for not getting those sacks, okay? He does get a lot of consistent pressure on the quarterback, but people are not happy with that. They want him to get those sacks, even though he gets held pretty often. He has some double teams, some triple teams to work throughout most games. Like, even though all that is going against Khalil Mack, people still expect crazy sack numbers from him. And I think in this game, he's actually going to get them, okay? This dude is mad. This dude is angry. And I think it's going to show up in this game. So yeah, guys, it pretty much wraps up this video. I hope I'm wrong about like 99% of everything I said in this video because I didn't have a lot of good things to say about the Bears. But why should I when this team has not given me much to speak good things about recently, okay? So I really do hope we win this. But, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Do you agree with my predictions here? Do you disagree? What are your predictions for what the score is going to be, the MVPs, the matchups, all that? Let me know in the comments down below. We really need Big D Nick out there again, okay? Last week we had Small D Nick. This week we badly need Big D Nick to show up again. So let's hope he does. As always, bear down.